Yeah, hello everyone. Um, it's very exciting day today for me because I've been waiting for this conversation for a while with Rahim. I want to introduce Rahim as a meditation coach, and we started our journey pretty randomly through a comment in a group that I don't even recall what that was, but somehow we connected and um, did some quantum healing with Rahim and eventually became really good friends and started collaborating on some projects too. So I'm very, very happy to bring Rahim here today.
The
Welcome.
universe put you in my path because I was at that point where after 4 years of Lyme disease hell, that you were just the right person to help me speed up my process. And instead of having it be 15 years long as it was 4 years long, and I'm so grateful for you for that.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, of course. And Rahim, you will tell your story a little bit more today, and I think many people benefit. And you will share some tips and strategies that can be useful for others too, right? But you wanted to start with the meditation.
I do, because how can a meditation coach be on an interview and not meditate? That would just be wrong, wouldn't it?
That's right.
So
That's right.
let's begin by putting our dominant hands on our hearts. Just close your eyes, noticing your body in its place, placing your feet firmly on the ground. Notice the warmth on our hands. Our hands are warm because they are surrounded by the universal energy. They're how we move the world. So feel that warmth penetrating to your heart. And in your heart, feel a green sphere beginning to grow. And as you inhale, it fills, growing larger and brighter. And as you exhale, it rests. Bring a second hand now to your diaphragm, to your solar plexus chakra. Our solar plexus is a dual use chakra. Sometimes it bends outward like a shield, protecting us from danger. And sometimes inward like a cup, holding our love, our courage, our vulnerability. So allow that green sphere now to connect with the line of light to your solar plexus, turning the shield inward, filling your cup of capacity. And now flipping the hands, dominant hand coming to the solar plexus, non-dominant on the heart. Notice if there's anything to release here. Notice if there's anything that you'd like to let go. Filling your breath, filling your body with a deep breath. And gently letting it out. Once more, filling your body with a deep breath and gently letting it out. And then switch back. So what we can do is we can kind of fill the gas tank here and then do the release and then fill it up more. So filling your heart to the top. Now holding your hands over the sides of your heads, thumbs above your ears, fingers pointing backward, holding the limbic brain. This is the part of the brain that creates our emotions. This is the lizard brain. I just think of it like riding the rapids. You always got to laugh a little bit when you're riding the rapids. Placing your hands on your face, your fingers covering your eyes now. Placing this experience in your senses. Imagine it like a bouquet of flowers beside your bed, or like a scent that you put inside your car so it goes with you wherever you go. Hang it like a picture in a place that you feel challenged during the day. Put it wherever it is that you need it. Finally, placing one hand at the top of your head and the other at the heart. Balancing these brains so that they work as one. Bringing the hand at the top of your head now to your belly button, to your sacral chakra, the seat of your passion and your intuition, and what you use to hear the whispers of the universe. Balancing your passion with your connection to life. And then moving the hand from the heart back to the top of the head. Having your intuition and your rational thoughts work as one. And when you're ready, open your eyes and return to this moment.
Thank you
How do
for
you feel?
this. Very
Yeah,
relaxing. And as you know, for me, like energy moves in like with fireworks. So shooting back and forward.
I so love it, I think. I
Thank
so
you.
love working with you, and I so appreciate the difference that you've made in my life. My life is so unrecognizable compared to where I was before I met you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more of your journey. And I remember meeting you in the when you were really in the bad place and you were dealing with Lyme disease and all those things. So just share that part first of all.
Yeah. Um, so Lyme disease is hell. It's no fun at all. You know, for me, it was a nervous system issue more than anything else. Um, I kind of experienced Lyme as this nervous system controller where every bacteria, virus, pathogen in our body just gets, controlled by the Lyme disease, and it just kind of begins to attack me. And so I met you at a point where I had just a tremendous amount of pain and a tremendous amount of dysregulation. Um, and the process of, the first session we did, the process of going through the resources, um, just lit up so many pathways for me to have the capacity to understand and and understand the templates that I was using, understand the coping mechanisms that I had attempted to fix my life with, as opposed
Mhm.
to really having that deeper connection to being that is possible. And I just so appreciated that work. And then the IMAP allowed me to create files, so to speak, in my head. And so part of my journey was a real loss of consciousness. When I had a fatigue event, I would literally leave my body and I'd come back and I wouldn't know that I was sitting in a chair, or really, who I was, just generally speaking. It was a conscious death. It was a rebirth. And the IMAP journey allowed me to kind of create files and to know kind of where this grouping called objects were, for instance. And so it was very easy for me to go access the thing called chair. And so I was able to do that. I was able to have many of the simple things in life taken care of. And so I could handle many of the higher cognitive issues. And that was a major benefit to me. The story I want to share with everyone today is the story of, the descent. Um, you know, like the spiritual journey is often must begin with the descent. And then when we stop descending, there is a way in which we find a foothold. There's a way in which we are able to find ourselves. And then there's a whole process of re-regulation. So that's what I want to share with you today. So my descent really started back in 2011. I had inherited this template from my parents called family, service, and work, right? And
Many
that
of
was,
them.
yeah, that was the way that I was living my life. But it wasn't really my life. I was kind of like living my parents' life. And so, after a peak spiritual experience with my wife in 2009, where we managed a miracle move that just was crazy. We moved states and got everything done in about 2.5 weeks, from renting out the place that we were leaving and renting a place we were going to and putting the kids in school. And then everything was done. And we went to India for 3 weeks and had like the best vacation of our lives, because we were leaving our jobs and nothing was wrong,
Mhm.
you know? And then by 2011, my wife and I were in a trial separation. Like things had just gone to crap all of a sudden. And
Mhm.
we just didn't know why, you know? And so that family pillar got knocked out. And then in 2013, I got this really nasty boss who was just, just had it out for me. And so that work pillar began to break down. And so I began to lose the storyline of my life. I began to like lose who I was, because I recognized myself these things. And then I began to have some terrible nightmares, and those nightmares ended up in my getting kicked out of a transformational service program that I'd been part of since 1998. And then it was just a matter of time until something happened. And it was Lyme disease that happened, but it could have been anything, right? It could have been
Right.
literally anything that that struck my body down. But by December of 2016, I had a skin condition that covered 25% of my body that began to shut down my internal organs. I'd gone to Hawaii, and I caught something. They couldn't really ever identify what. But that allowed the Lyme disease to come out. And by February of 2017, I was in bed for about a month.
Right.
And it was a it was a tale of two cities. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Right.
So here's my body lying in bed, right? And for much of the time, I don't even have the strength to open my eyelids, because my mitochondria has crashed from the huge dose of steroids that the doctors have given me. And years later, we discovered that I probably had a heart attack around the same time that went undiagnosed at that time. But I was there, right? I
Yeah.
had like gotten kicked out of my body. This was like really cool. And I was like watching this terror and this
Mhm.
elation, this terror and this elation. I'm alive, but oh my God, maybe it would be better if I'd be dead, because family would be so much better with the insurance money rather than this body lying in bed that may never get up again.
That's tough.
And then about a month in, you know, I don't know what happened, but I had this experience of an organizing principle. And it was like, so you're still here. You may as well start living now. I don't know what
Mm.
that'll look like, but why not? Right.
Yeah.
And so, my wife and I fought through fatigue events, and we experimented and experimented. We never did get divorced. We figured it out. We patched it together, um, and over the next 3 or 4 months, we figured out how I can have about 3 hours in a day where I could get up and move around the earth. And that was really when the spiritual journey began to move in incredible speed.
Mm.
So I begged my wife at that time to take me up to Tequanimon Falls. We had not gotten up to live in Michigan, and the Upper Peninsula is one of the most beautiful places on earth, one of the most serene places on earth, if you can ever make it up there. And so, I begged my wife to take me up to the falls. And she's like, you can't even drive. You can't even walk. You can't even, what are you doing? This is crazy,
Against all the logic, right?
against all the logic. And I'm like, I don't know, Jing, the falls are just calling me. I don't know. Can we go, please?
Mm.
And so we hopped in the car with the kids and made the 5-hour drive up. And, she helped me walk to the falls because I didn't have much energy after that drive, but I wanted to get there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And standing at those falls, just feeling the rushing water, feeling that experience in my ears, feeling that experience in my whole body. I asked the falls, would you take away this fatigue? And they did. And it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life.
Right.
And then the journey continued, because what I didn't realize as I did that was that falls occur inside of river systems and flow through forests and into lakes and into oceans, and are impacted by the moon, and the moon reflects the sun. And oh my God, the whole universe began to kind of unfold in front of me.
Right.
And so I began what I experience as the healers and the heroes journey together. And if I can share my screen here, I can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, please do. You figure out to connect to the universe and nature to receive that energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you came up here, we did a lot of that together. We
Yeah.
went to forests and rivers and confluences of rivers, and we experienced intersections in forests. And did we get to a big lake? We did get to a big lake, and we saw sunset and we saw sunrise. And yeah, all of those things get to be part of this journey. And we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about my own experience there too, definitely.
Yeah. So heroes and healers journey. So there's 2 journeys that we have to make in our lives. And the first is the hero's journey. The hero's journey is kind of like a box. And if you can see my cursor here, it goes from reason at the top of it. And this is just basically the frequency chart of human frequency. And so reason is the top of that journey, and we struggle and suffer. And so what happens is that, this is the journey of carrying a light. This is the journey of holding a torch before us. And so we often start in the suffering and the struggle part of our lives. And then we kind of come up here and we come to reason, and then we go east and we use our reason, we use that light to build something in our lives. And then at some point, the template kind of just falls apart. The template doesn't work anymore. It doesn't create what we wanted it to create, or something happens that changes our experience of our enchantment, our experience of our understanding of life. And then we fall, right? We go south and we fall into struggle and suffering. And then we go west and we rehabilitate ourselves. And that takes some time. Sometimes that takes a week. Sometimes it takes a month. Sometimes it takes 50 years, right? Sometimes people just struggle and struggle and struggle for their entire lives.
Mhm.
And eventually what we do is begin to move north again. And we begin to move through the shame and the guilt and the apathy and the grief and the fear and the pride and the anger and the courage. We get to a willingness and an acceptance, and then we're able to use our reason to build things. And then we go east again until that template runs its course, and then we fall once more. So that's the hero's journey. The hero's journey is the journey of building until the point where we are our reason, our acceptance, our willingness, and our courage produces enough of the results in our lives that we're satisfied, that we are
Right.
content, that
Mm.
we are okay with this way of surviving.
But
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 that
this
doesn't necessarily,
this happens in so many areas, right? So we go over and over through the cycle in different areas of our life, isn't it?
yeah. And this is the way that we cope, right? Until
Right.
again we get to that point of sustained levels of contentment. But that doesn't get us to love, that doesn't get us to joy, that doesn't get us to peace, that doesn't get us to this experience of being. This experience of being has no template.
So what
This
needs to happen
experience,
for somebody to get there?
yeah. And this is why I'm so pleased with my journey, right? This is, I experienced 2.5 years of increasing levels of nine pain before I met you. You know, there were times my nervous system was so overloaded that my body would arc a foot off the bed. The 4 types of pain that I experienced were sawing when my joints were just like cracking against each other, you know. The second were raindrops, where like the nervous system would just create all over the place. The third was ice picking, right? Just like bang, bang,
Mm.
bang, bang. And the fourth was lightning strikes. And the lightning strikes would sear channels through my body. And it was awful. And at the same time, there was a joy. There was this experience of aliveness in that. And so, what the healer's journey is suffer, 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 surrender,
Mm.
surrender, surrender. And just before that last surrender, before we think that we're dead, just before that last surrender, before the ego completely dies, we jump and we have this experience. And when you have that experience, you can no longer suffer.
Right.
This never makes sense for you again, right? You can do the things that you need to do to build your life, but once you've jumped and once you've had that experience, everything else begins to occur inside of this context. And the journey goes from being a journey of challenge and of being a journey of upset and fear
Right.
to being a journey of rightness, to being a journey of sacredness. And that's, I think, where the magic really occurs for people,
Right.
is that when we have the capacity to embrace our suffering, in the quantum healing technology, you talk about notice and thank.
Right. That's the core
And
of it. Yeah.
that's just brilliant. I
And yet
just,
that's simple.
and just, I'm so thankful for Dick and for you for discovering and placing this in the world.
Yeah.
Just noticing and thanking. So, what's the access to sacredness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, like, hey, dude, I'm in pain. Like, this is sacred? How?
Yeah.
You know? And one of the things I'm incredibly grateful for was that it was enough pain, right? it wasn't just a little bit of pain. It wasn't just an inconvenience. It wasn't just, something that I could cope with, but it was an all encompassing, Raheem, this is your entire freaking life pain.
Right.
There
So
was
you
no
have no
place.
choice, right? At that point.
You have no choice. You
Right.
just have to be with it.
Mhm.
And what I noticed was that it was a thing about memory, right? It was like, if I compared the pain to something in the past, then it stayed around and it was worse. Or if I worried how long the pain might last, then that also made it worse.
Mhm.
The space of comfort, the space of joy, the space of peace was the space of presence.
That's right. Where everything happens, really.
Where you can feel each individual raindrop, where you can track the lightning strike from where it begins, inch by inch, how it goes through your body. And instead of clearing channels, or instead of just being this terrible, searing event, it became something that cleared channels of love, that allowed me to experience joy at a level that I never could ever describe.
Right.
Because what joy is not a positive or a negative thing, but it's an experience of aliveness.
Mhm.
It's an experience of presence. So I'd like to do an exercise with you, if I can, to
With
play with
me,
that a little bit today. Yeah.
all right?
And everyone, please join in as we do this. So close your eyes.
All right.
And I'm going to invite you to get present. And tell me what you're present to.
Very funny. I'm aware of my right hand as it moves gently.
Excellent. Let that go. Like a wave coming in and a wave washing back out. And now get present. What are you present to?
So this is the feeling that is very familiar for me. And it's weirdly happens as if my eyes cross together in the space of the third eye. And I just like everything opens up, that space of everything and nothing.
That's amazing. That's lovely that you're able to shift into that so quickly. You must be a marathon meditator in your
Well,
quantum healing ways.
well. So it wasn't very good a guinea pig for the process, right?
Well, the key to it is that what happens is that we there's a mist, right? There's a mist that we go through. It's like my hand, my leg, I worry about my work, my oh, wait a second, what's that? It's gone. The mist is gone.
Right.
And then we're present.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, I've been working on these things for quite a while. And at the beginning,
Yeah.
when I started meditating, I'm like gazillions of thoughts are circling around, and like it's hard to get rid of them. But eventually, this becomes a natural state of being for me.
It becomes a
Yeah,
natural experience. It becomes a
right.
part of our lives, and
Yeah.
we meditate through our lives, and that becomes who we are.
Yes. Yes.
And so I invite everyone to, to do that whenever you have that experience of ugh, going on in your body, right?
Mhm.
Just to sit there and to feel your body against the chair, to put your feet on the mother's ground, to feel her embrace, feel her holding your feet. Just say to yourself, get present. What are you present to? And then let the wave of whatever you're experiencing come in and then wash back out. And then again, get present. What are you present to? until that mist clears and that you have that experience of clarity, you have the experience of silence, you have the experience of peace. And whatever you're dealing with, whatever pain, whatever challenge, whatever stuff that's going on in your life, you can always just be here in this continuous present moment where we all live. And that is the experience of being. That is the experience of no time and no space and no, just nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, I usually say nothing and everything at the same time in the same space.
Yeah.
What can we achieve when we get there?
Well, I have never been treated for Lyme disease, except through quantum healing, I suppose.
Mm.
And so what I discovered was that my body was way too sensitive to treat myself for Lyme disease, because that's really, really a tough treatment. And so what I decided to do is I decided to get my body back to working, and then I would treat myself for Lyme disease. And so I went through several processes of regulation. The first process of regulation was, again, this discovery, this unity, this balance, this harmony that I created with the earth, right?
Right.
That throughout my experiences of Lyme, that I would visit different places. The Tequanimon Falls is something that was very important to me. Another one of them was Lake Superior. Lake Superior is the northern lake that is that borders Michigan. We have Lake Superior to our north, we have Lake Michigan to our west, and we have Lake Huron and Lake Erie to our east. And so this state, I just love this state because it's surrounded by this powerful water.
Mm.
And so one of my trips to Lake Superior, if I can tell the story, was in a moment of tremendous pain. And I just, I grabbed my daughter one evening and I said, honey, can we just go? I just need to go to the lake. Please, can we go to the lake? And I got to the lake and I felt those waves crashing again and again and again. And energetically, I've swallowed the entire lake in 3 huge gulps. And I can tell you one thing about that experience, and that is the fish do not give a shit. They just don't give a shit. But that experience of pain with that energy of the lake, that force of the lake running through my body, that experience of those waves of the lake, and then using rocks and crystals, I have several lake rocks and crystals. This is an amethyst I have here in my hand. It's used for the third eye to enhance my dreams. And then I use a blue apatite. Where is that? To calm the nervous system. And a carnelian to enhance my voice. And a green fluorite to support the wanderings of my life. And sunrises and sunsets to mark the beginnings and the ends of many journeys inside of cycles that I have, and the moon
Right.
cycle to be able to see where the reflection of my light grows, because what we are, right, is that we're a reflection of the divine that we all have within us, that is who we are. And then this horse is what we ride.
Mm.
And we are the first to feel, to experience that divinity of ourselves, that connection that we have to the wholeness that we have, the wholeness that we are.
Right. Rahim, tell us a little bit more of that structure, because I have experienced that when I had a chance to visit you, the connection with nature and the cyclical patterns of nature and how you tap into that energy, and how significant each aspect is. Because I remember we went to the lake, went to the river, went to the forest, and sunset, sunrise. These are like core stepping stones in the system that you have created for yourself, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
So if I could back up a little bit. So in the process of Lyme disease, I fired every single doctor I've ever had.
Right.
I think I'm up to 15 now. Um, and that was because they had their ideas of treating me. They were not treating me Raheem, they were treating me Lyme disease patient. And that just didn't work for me. That just somehow just didn't work for me. And so the descent of man, the descent of who we are, is a descent into a black hole, WHOLE. Like the whole of our life becomes black. And that not even our divine light can escape that.
Mm.
And so what happens is that we get disorganized. Our energy system gets disorganized. It gets removed from reality. It's a
Right.
disenchantment, if that makes any sense. Like we were enchanted by the template that we once held, and now we're disenchanted by this wholeness, this blackness that we're experiencing.
Mm.
And so what we need to do is we need to create a system of not re-enchantment, because we can never be enchanted again. We can never go back to that
Yeah.
experience of naivety, that
Mm.
experience of what it was before, right?
Mm.
The only thing we can do is move forward. And so for me, the earth is just like there. It's like, hey, it's there. The ground is
Mhm.
there. The sky is there. The forest is there. The lake is there. The sunrise and the sunset happen every day. And the moon has very, very known cycles.
Mhm.
And so we can begin to regulate ourselves through these different things. And that as we begin to cyclically find our rhythms with these patterns that occur in the natural world, then the waves that we experience, the waves of my nervous system, the waves of whatever our challenges that we have in life, we can begin to play with them. We can begin to have this experience of, instead of controlling and resisting the waves, that we have the experience of dancing and riding with them. And so for me, the idea of a new moon is a moon without reflection. It's a moon without light.
Mhm.
So it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to grow in our reflection. It's an opportunity to bring that light into ourselves and learn how to reflect it better into the world. And then, we practice and we practice, we practice. Before I got sick, I was a runner.
Mm.
In 2016, I did 2 half marathons, and mile 3 of the second marathon, I tore my meniscus. So my second half marathon, I tore my meniscus. And being the idiot I was, I kept going, right? Like, because that's what the template said I had to do.
Very much Raheem style.
Absolutely nothing has changed, right? Nothing, just still who I am.
Very
I'm
stubborn.
never going to learn anything, like that. But in any case, what I have learned is that, right, there's a practice and a training and a training and a training, and then there's the race,
Mhm.
and there's the enjoyment of the race. And for me, that's the full moon, right? Like when you have done all the training that you need to do, when you have done all the learning that you need to do, and you have doused yourself, you have drenched yourself in sacredness, what you get is you get the full reflection of light. And then you get to enjoy that. And then you kind of slide down the other side, right?
Yeah.
And there's more things that happen. And you're like, your body goes crazy for a couple of days. For the last couple of days, I've had some more lightning strike pain. And I'm so grateful for my wife for just holding me as I scream and bawl my eyes out, because it hurts. It hurts. But you know what? It ends. And at the end of it, there's light. And the moon is such an important part of that for me, because it teaches me that the cycle continues, that we continue, that we are able to persist, and that the light returns no matter the darkness.
Right.
And that all we have to do is be here, be present.
That's right. I just felt like sharing my own experience as I visited you this summer for a week. That time myself, I was going through big transformation, and you introduced crystals to me, which I was very resistant to at the beginning.
You were like, crystals do nothing for me. Never mention crystals
No,
to me again.
no, see,
It was
because
so funny.
the association I had with crystals, really, I think it comes from my religion upbringing, kind of. You know, you go to priest to speak your sins, so then you can access God. And I'm like, I don't need any priest to access God.
Right.
I have direct
Right.
connection. Why? It doesn't make sense. So the same thing, like, I don't need crystals to access source energy. Like, what is this? So I was stubborn in that way, but I did experience really a strong energy from each of them, and I could notice the connection to my different chakras and yeah, different energies as they flow. That was like surprising, fascinating. I was very curious, and when you took me to a journey through the forest, that was like a big. I realized that we live, stories of our lives, and even quantum healing is based, working on metaphors. I realized that we can live that metaphor in real life. That was so interesting experience for me as we walked through those paths, and like I could feel the energy, which direction it takes me. I could feel representation of different people in my life as those trees. It was just like mind-blowing, and I'm like, is it possible that you kind of staged this experience for me? Because as if like you knew what will happen. It fit my experience so greatly, and since then I was like, okay, there is something there, even though at the beginning I wasn't understanding that. But what I wanted to say, and maybe for others to say from another perspective, right? You talk a lot about that. And I'm like, why focus on this? But I understood after all, after this journey with you, that in order to end some past experience that wasn't useful for you, right? You basically die in that form of yourself and born a new self, that you step into your power, get closer to that love, compassion, joy, and as you show the scale, step into your full potential more and more. And this is like a cycle. In different area, you go deeper and deeper and deeper in your experience and expanding that consciousness.
Yes.
Right.
One of my favorite quotes comes from Gabriel Garcia Marquez's book, Love in the Time of Cholera, as translated by Edith Grossman. And I probably will be paraphrasing here, but the quote goes that human beings are not born once and for all on the day their mothers give them birth, but that life obliges them over and over again to give rebirth to themselves.
Right.
And turning to the Bible, there's the story of the four horsemen, right? The story of the white horse is the story of the campaigner, the story of the person that's living their template, and the white horseman carries an arrow, a bow and arrow, and so is able to shoot far with that and to campaign and to win the campaigns easily. But over time, the whiteness turns to blackness, right? The blackness of the famine, the blackness of the challenge, the blackness of the suffering, because we can only campaign so far. The templates only go so far. And the interesting about the famine, right, is the carnality remains, but the consumer staples, the things that we need in life, the things that we live for in life, the love, the connection, the experience of oneness with others, that's what disappears.
Right.
In that once we experience the blackness, we can either choose the red horse or the pale horse. We can either go to war or we can retreat and we can come back again, resurrected into a new life,
Right.
resurrected with a new idea of self and a new connection to a greater self. And that's the possibility of death. So my own experience to that was that the nervous system overloads, was that conscious disconnection, that experience of just a total loss of self. And so I had this experience of not physically dying, but consciously dying a couple hundred times in this journey.
Right.
And that at each death, at each time that I came back, I had forgotten who I was. And so when I recreated myself from the image I saw in the reflection of the mirror standing before me, right? Not the image of life, not the image of my evidence, not the image of the proof that I had of myself, but the image of myself. And that over time became the dominant experience of my life. And so death to me has become this great joy, to the point that when you and I are on the phone, I'm in Michigan, you're in Europe, and we're talking at midnight or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and Agnes like, "Where are you? You're outside." And I'm like, "I'm at a cemetery." And you're like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "No, this is my happy place. This is where my people are, right? This is where this experience of life and death exists in one spot." And as I inform, I get informed, I learn from that. That to me is a space that's really life affirming. And I'm really appreciative that you don't think that that's too weird.
Well, see, I approach people with no judgment, and that's what you get when you work with me or when you connect with me. Uh, my intention is to understand a different perspective, and I'm sure many people think is weird. Well, but you
It's a
have,
it's a it's a little weird. It's a it's a
of
little
course.
weird. It's a little weird, yeah.
But here in this space, it's okay to be weird. It's okay to speak your truth, and yeah, you are who you are.
Yeah.
And we're actually going way over time as I was expecting.
I
Yeah,
talk too much. That's what
yeah. With
happens.
Rahim, we can talk for hours and hours.
It's called aliveness. Aliveness.
Right. But you wanted to mention, and I think we'll have more conversations specifically about crystals, because I value your knowledge in that, in the energy centers, connection to crystals, how to work through those pathways energetically. I would like to have that conversation some other time. But for now, share what you do in your own group about crystals.
If I can, we talked about healthcare system. That's
Mhm.
different, and I want to cover that, and I'll cover crystals inside of that, if that's okay.
Okay.
So one of the things I'm wearing here is a little tab, and this tab is a Herxheimer reaction. So I did a lot of detoxing last night, and so I'm wearing a frequency tab that allows me to release the neurotoxins that are created by the die off of bacteria and parasites and things within my body. And so Tesla talked about that everything is frequency, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that when you have this experience of completing the healers, or not completing, because you never complete anything until you're dead, right? Like, as
A
long as you're
little secret.
alive, you're on the journey. Like there ain't nothing, like
Nothing you
enlightenment,
can do.
you're on the journey, so deal with
Yes.
it, right? um and so this is a great example of something that I use to support my body. I can detox, I can kill parasites, I can support organs, I can do chakra balancing, I can do a variety of those things, and I can do them all at the same time. And I can put these in these little tabs and then wear them around in my life. And so I can go out and have the support that I need, as I live my life. And then, of course, there's bracelets. This is my favorite bracelet. How close can I get it? So inside of that, there's little threads of gold inside of the clear crystals, and
Beautiful.
I use that in my left wrist to release my solar plexus. I learned that the technique of chakra balancing that we started with earlier, right, is the sense that that in the universe, there is all the energy that we might need. And
Right.
so we don't have to go looking for love. We don't have to go looking for that connection. We can use our presence.
You can find everything within yourself, right?
And so often what happens with the body, right, is the body is kind of like this spaceship that we are landed on the earth, right? And that we are stuck on the earth because we don't have the necessary fuel, the necessary connection, the necessary understanding, the ability to hear the whispers of the universe through our sacral chakra, to express our passions and to feel our intuitions between the connection between our sacral and our third eye.
Right.
And so what happens that we do with chakra balancing with crystals, that first of all, crystals have their own energy, crystals have their own frequency. And so when we hold the crystal, and particularly when we hold two crystals in our hand, when we hold just one crystal, we feel that. But when we hold two crystals, we're holding two different energies. And so what balances in the center is us,
Right.
that we find a resonance between these.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're able, therefore, to begin to fill that chakra system, to begin to staff the spaceship, to begin to fuel the spaceship, to begin to make sure that we have everything that we need. And so that when we have this experience of suffering, that when we have this experience of the opportunity to die, the opportunity to let the part of us that is no longer the template that we've created, that is no longer workable for our lives, go, that we then have the energy to transition into that experience of peacefulness, into that experience of joy, because we have learned how to fill ourselves with that, and when we've learned how to balance that energy within our bodies. And so what the group that's called Concentia Crystals, it's not a crystal group. Crystals are a tool within the group. We are the crystals,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
We are the frequency generators that are spreading that frequency, that light, that aliveness into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that the more that we have the capacity to consciously choose our frequencies,
Yeah.
to consciously choose the range within life that we travel, can we dare to be peacefully angry? Can we dare to be joyfully in pain?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how ridiculous are we willing to allow our lives to be by not defining ourselves by our extremes, but by finding ourselves within our means, by finding ourselves within our capacity to move life?
Right.
And that as we continue on the journey of challenge, of suffering, of rebirth, as we fill our chakras, we blast off. And there ain't nothing that can stop us then.
Definitely. Yes. And I mean, so many times you guided me through just chakras balancing. There's immediate shift. There is immediate shift in the energy and, you know, how you show up in the world, which is beautiful.
It's incredible. It's like surprising. Like, how the heck does that happen? All I'm doing is putting my hand on my heart and then in my head and then holding my eyes and like, wait a second, I feel calm. What just
Mhm.
happened?
That's right. Well, we have very wise system. Our body, mind, soul connection, all the layers of our bodies. We don't know much about, and in the normal world, people are not even aware of those details, right? And we are so powerful. We can achieve so much just by focusing within and uncovering those abilities of ours.
What amazes me most about the human condition is that we create the templates in our lives. We accept the templates that are created for us by others into our
Right.
lives. and we live from them, and then we resist them. And then we're like, no, we are out, right? And what's possible, right, through this process of regulation, through this process of using the black hole, right? Because inside of the black hole, the crushing gravity of that can hold no matter, right? That wholeness is everything that pain became my whole life. But inside of that pain, inside of that presence that I was able to experience that pain, what I got to is the experience of possibilities. And that if a black hole cannot hold matter, what it can hold is potential matter.
Right.
And the potential matter is that light that we bring to our lives, that light of our divine connection to self, that mirror of God that stares into us, that we can share the things that we just can't understand about life. The serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes, I love this one.
And then the ability to stare non-judgmentally, to notice and to thank life for offering us the mirror of what's going on so that we can see our impact in the world, that we can see what we're manifesting and bringing into our lives. We can see the game that we're playing, and then choose not to survive anymore, but to thrive through the process of reorganization, through the process of connection with nature or connection to whatever it is that you choose to have be the organizing principle of your life. Filling your chakras, balancing your energies.
Yes. Yes. I love this. As you spoke about black hole, the only image in my mind that comes up, and this was the discussion we had with the Harbors a while back. The black hole, in my contemplation, is just like a coin, and another side of it is the light, is the source energy. So your story of like death and rebirth is just like going through the black hole to come out with the source,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful metaphor of how our experiences shifts, really.
Yeah. One of the most amazing things is that the things that we rely upon, the things that we love, the things that are not this body, right? The things that are outside of this body, that any light that showed into our life also throws a shadow, that love can also be lost, right? That great work can also turn out to not work out. Like light that comes into our life has a shadow, but when you hold a candle to a wall, the candle itself throws a shadow, but the flame does not.
Right.
And that as we unite our body, as we unify the divine with the body, that the beacon that we are grows, that the candle that we are stays forever lit. And no one can put that out, not even ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Rahim. We have been talking for an hour, and I love the conversation, and I'm sure we'll have this discussion later on again. But I want to thank you for sharing your story and wisdom and the energy that you bring to this group. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next conversations with you.
Thank you. I am so delighted to be here, but most of all, I'm delighted to be your friend and delighted that you're my friend. Thank you for being in my life.
Thank you too. Thank you too. It's always a pleasure to connect with you.
Much love and blessings to everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.